Hello.
There he is.
Hey, here he is.
I'm so sorry. That last interview ran a little long.
Look, don't worry about it, mate. I've done that a load of times. People have been late because they've been on, with me jabbering away, so it's not a problem.
How are
But
you?
yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. And
What?
funnily enough, I'm just gonna. I've got a picture that I wanted to show you, which is from a couple of years ago at Blood. Well, when you played Bloodstock, what year did you play Bloodstock?
Yeah, was that geez, was that 22?
I think
23?
I
Might
think
have
it was
been
yeah.
22. It was a hot day. I remember that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share a picture of you. Just going to share a picture with you, um, and it's from that day, and it's us guys. It's us guys backstage, but you'll see why. Well, it'll all become apparent. So here we go. Here we go. So there you go. Ah, that's
It's loading.
yeah. You got it.
It's loading still.
All right.
It's buffering.
No, hang on a second.
Oh, oh, there's your shirt.
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's yeah, it's moved. Hang on a sec. Um, right. Well, this is going brilliantly. I'll edit this out, the audio version, but the video version, fuck it. Sorry. Right, here it is. You see that?
No.
It'll come through. So basically, in that picture is me, you, Bobby Gustafson, and then there's Mark from Acid Rain and Cookie from Acid Rain.
Okay. I
So
still
that
can't see
is
it.
there's five of us there, yeah. Two of Violence, three of Acid Rain, and there's only two people in that picture who are still in their respective bands, and that is me
Oh,
and you.
really?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, it must be something about singers, mate.
It is. That's the key. I
Yeah.
still haven't seen the picture yet.
Oh, damn it, man. Look, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
All right, but yeah, it's the way things are. I mean, funnily enough, when I saw you made some lineup changes, I thought straight away of that picture because I remember that picture and I was thinking, do you know what? I think it might be just the two of us who are like still left now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's
I
been
know it's me for sure.
yeah. But it's been all changed for you guys, hasn't it? I mean, I know you're probably sick of talking about it, but
No, not at all.
I mean, it's a very different lineup now. Now, speaking as a singer who put a lineup back together and has none of the original members, I know how it feels, and sometimes people want to do something that they just can't commit to. How did it all work out? I mean, obviously everybody's different, but it's kind of been a slow process, but a complete kind of change.
Yeah. So, when we got this thing rolling again, he was adamant about some specific members being in the band. And, then one of them doesn't work out. So then Bobby got an opportunity. We brought Bobby in and then we did some touring, did some shows, some festivals. And then Phil was kind of in and kind of out. Perry was just, uh, I liked the guy, but he was kind of problematic, on the road. And so, yeah, because it takes a lot of work,
Yeah,
to put a tour, to be on a tour, put it together, and all that. And
yeah,
so everyone needs to be appreciative of the efforts that are put out to get you out there. And so that I had to make that change. And then Phil was in, then Phil was out, then Phil was in, then Phil was out, and Phil was in. So finally, it was like, dude, you're either in or out.
yeah,
So, and then it was just down to me, and I've had different drummers. Adrian Aguilar, he was with us the last time we were out in the Europe and did a 8 show tour of a few countries there. Great drummer, and then he decided, well, he wanted to commit to his band. Ex Mortis, which it's great for him. I mean, I support him 100%. And he was a good guy because he finished his commitment, and then that's when he was like, okay, so I'm going to move on and do my thing. And so then I picked up Nick Souza. He's Zetro's kid, and he's doing a great job. He's in Hatred. They're an active
Yeah.
band. So, and I don't do a whole lot of touring and work, it's a good fit for Nick. And then as far as bass, Christian, he's pursuing, he's getting a lot more work with Cypress Hill, and they have a Power Flow album. Sin Dog's got a Power Flow album coming out that Christian's
Right.
on. And, he wants to write his own record. So, more power to him. And, I support him 100%. I had a young guitar player, a good guitar player, but some of those young guys, they don't realize that you have to have your life together also, and so it's not just about playing guitar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he kind of flaked on me, and well, he did flake. So then I moved on. It brought Ira back in the band. Ira's someone that Ira Black is someone that you just like to have around. He's dependable. He'll go the extra mile to whatever it takes to make it work,
Yeah.
and that kind of a personality is a great personality to have. And then we were going to work with Max Georgia from Falling in Reverse, but he had some other commitments that he had to tend to. So we picked up Claudius Kramer from Possessed. So he'll be with us on the road for this tour.
Cool.
So it's stressful when it happens, but you
Yeah.
just can't like, you can't. I've always thought that my approach is I can't control what goes on outside of my control. So just
Yeah.
don't let it get to you, and focus on what you can control and move forward with that. It's kind of a stoic kind of an attitude to have. People try to get you angry, but it's like it's not the people trying to get you angry. It's how you respond to it that matters. And so that's kind of my approach.
Yeah,
So,
and also like you say, control the controllables. Whatever. I mean, I'm without a bass player and I'm sorry, without a guitarist and a drummer right now.
uh-huh.
And we're in the midst of auditions, and it's like, yeah, we've got 10 songs written. We want to get in the studio straight away. But
Yeah,
like I keep saying to the other guys, yeah, but the right people are the right people. So there's no point in getting the
yeah,
wrong people in and rushing the fucking thing because you're just going to have problems down the road,
yeah.
literally down the road.
Yeah, and
Um,
we've also used Maxheim out there in Europe. I've had him tour with us too, from um, uh, Evil Invaders.
all right, yeah,
Yeah, so he's done some shows with us too. Another
that's a
great
great
guy.
idea.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
He's
a great
always
idea.
yeah, yeah. So I tried to get him over here to the States, but I guess as young men they came. U.S. ain't like nowhere else. He tried to get in here. It's like breaking out of prison.
Yeah.
And so they just were young men and listening to a promoter, and so he can't come to the States, but I do appreciate everything Max has done for me in the past out there in Europe.
Oh, that's cool, man. And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, first of all, impressive tour of England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. It's like, to me, when I see those dates and I think someone in the band has said to their booker, make sure that we play England, Ireland, and Scotland and Wales, not just England, because
yeah.
otherwise we'll get a load of shit, rightly, from people in Scotland, Ireland, and Wales.
Yeah. Well, we have Enzo as our booking agent out there with Decibel Touring, and Enzo does a great job because he puts all this stuff together for us, and so I have to give all the credit to Enzo for lining us up these shows in proper manner. And then we have
Yeah.
the Keep It True Festival between the UK dates and Spain. So we were trying to build a tour around that festival that we committed to a year ago. So and
Right.
so yeah, he put all these together, and there was some. logistical conversations, but never anything about the locations because it looked like he had everything covered.
Yeah, I mean it's a great little tour. The only downside is that the day you play London, where I live, I'm flying to Cyprus that day.
Oh,
So I know after all this, and oppressing the masses for me is has always been of. I mean, look, Eternal Nightmare is what it is. Yeah,
yeah.
but for me, when I heard oppressing the masses, I was just like all over it. Fucking loved it. Got it the day it came out, which was not easy in the UK back then. Got it the day it came out, which was probably months after it came out in the States. Um, and straight away, me and my mate we're like the two Vio-Lence fans in the area. And we were both like, yeah, this is fucking great. This is absolutely killer. Because it's just different enough from Eternal Nightmare to be interesting. I really like the production. I think it's got a really of its time cool production.
Uh-huh. Well,
And
Alex Perry Alice, right? You can't go wrong with him back in the day.
exactly. Unless
Yeah.
you're Flotsam and Jetsam on When the Storm Comes Down, because someone signed off on that fucking snare drum. But anyway, which sounds like a box of biscuits. But yeah, it was. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now you've got a remastered version of the EP out, and there's a two-disc version and a remastered version of Eternal Nightmare. Is there anything planned for Oppressing the Masses?
Well, we had been working on it for years since we got back together, and it just Atlantic won't even discuss it really. So we pursued them. Phil made some phone calls, and we thought we were heading down the right path, and then suddenly that dried up. And then once we did the EP with Metal Blade and the Eternal Nightmare re-release, then we were using Metal Blade to try to pursue oppressing the masses. They kind of got the same thing we did, which was Atlantic just wasn't interested in, you know, getting it out there.
So not interested in doing something that they would literally they could do nothing. They could just license it to Metal Blade. They could
Yeah.
sit there, do nothing, and some revenue will come in.
Yeah, and instead, I think because they took Torture Tactics off the record, which caused a lot of
Yeah.
problems. And
20,000 albums destroyed. Great,
yeah, well,
great t-shirt.
and at the same time, they're talking about how they were all about free speech and signing Two Live Crew and releasing their record. And in the meantime, behind their backs, they were just removing Torture Tactics from Violence as Oppressing the Masses record. So
Yeah.
I think that whole hypocrisy and I did a lot of interviews back then about it, and I think that slap in the face to them was like, I think maybe it still holds true today. They're just pissed off at the band or whatever. I couldn't even tell you. I've
Yeah.
never spoken to anyone at Atlantic Records. Missy over at Metal Blade, she wasn't part of the deal, so she can't, or not Metal Blade, but Megaforce, she can't, pursue anything. She doesn't know. She has no
Yeah.
idea where that is. Because I was like, well, 35 years later, we should be able to, you know, get our rights
Yeah.
back. You know?
Well, not only that, but I mean, ultimately, even if you can't get your rights back, they're sat on something that they're doing nothing with
Yeah.
that
They
could be
probably have
out
a
there
lot.
and earning a royalty for anybody who wants to earn a royalty on it.
Yeah. Well, they probably have a lot of music sitting on the shelf in their closet. Who knows? But
It's
yeah.
yeah, it absolutely does my head in. Funnily enough, I had a conversation with Eric from Flotsam and Jetsam,
Uh-huh.
and he was saying that their album When the Storm Comes Down that I trashed previously, love great album by the way. Um, they got a phone call from MCA one day, and they just said, "Would you like this album back? Would you like all the rights?" And they were like, "Yeah," and they went, "Okay, we'll send you the master tapes and sign off on
Wow.
all the legal stuff."
I'd
And they,
love for that to
yeah,
happen.
yeah, I know. I'd love that to happen. Just out of nowhere, a
Yeah.
major label rings up and goes, "Yeah, do you want your album back and all the rights?"
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Well, Eternal Nightmare was distributed by MCA through Mechanics Records. So
Steve Sinclair.
yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah.
rewrote
There's
my lyrics.
that. Well, yes, I think we
We talked about that before.
yeah, we did, didn't we? It's all coming back to me now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't got a very high opinion of that dude, and funnily enough, the
no,
reason we didn't sign to the exact same label was that our
yeah,
manager wouldn't go anywhere near him.
yeah. Well, that was a good move.
Yeah, well, yeah, we also have no product ever released in North America, so maybe
Oh wow,
not. So maybe not the best decision. Oh, no,
sure.
I tell a lie. I tell a lie. Our last album, The Age of Entitlement, was released in North America, but yeah, it took a long time for something to come out. Everything was always
Uh-huh.
on its top. So
Sure.
sucks, but that's the way it is.
Yep. It is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a real shame. That's a real shame because they're completely missing a trick. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, and the thing too is like, so Eternal Nightmare, it stands alone, and Rob contributed on that record, Calling in the Coroner, and I wrote the lyrics for it. But then Oppressing the Masses has a huge Rob Flynn influence, and you would think that Atlantic
yeah,
would try to at least tap into some, get that re-released, and do some kind of promotions with it to say, yeah,
yeah,
Rob's, and I think that's too what separates the two records is Rob's influence on Oppressing the Masses was quite big. And Christian also said the same thing you did, that he was in Belgium. He was the only guy that was a Violence fan, and it was Oppressing the Masses that got him there. Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, I think I might have told you last time. Me and my mate were on the motorway, the highway in the UK, and we'd been ringing the record shop, the only record shop that was going to get this in, and we'd been ringing it like every day. And then we rang up on the motorway. We were at a service station. We pulled in. We rang up and they said, yes, it's in. We've got two CDs here for you. You can pick them up as soon as you like. So he was like, it's in, hung the phone up, and we ran out the service station and we were running to the car, got in the car, drove down the motorway. All of a sudden there's blue lights behind us,
Oh
and
no.
it was the police pulling us over, wanting to know why we were in such a hurry to get out of services. And we're like, well, you're probably not going to believe this, but there's this CD by this band that we've really got to go and get. But I just love the idea that we're speeding down the motorway to go and get some thrash metal, and this policeman's just pulling us over, like, what the fuck's going on here,
That's funny.
And it's just like,
Great
but
story.
but that's the kind of passion and shit that like you had for this back in the day. I
Yeah.
mean, I always describe it as the fact that people in bands, we're fans,
Yeah.
and you hear some music, you go and see something live, and you go, it's not enough. I love this too much.
Yeah.
I need to be in it,
Yeah.
you know? And
Well,
it's that passion that drives you.
yeah. Well, I remember waiting outside Tower Records for the Blizzard of Oz,
Same
and then
thing.
then they played Day on the Green in Oakland, and Ozzy did a signing at another record store. I forget where it was, in Fremont, but I stood in line for hours to get his autograph. So I have his autograph on the cover of the record. And then
Oh, that is awesome.
I worked at McDonald's at the time too, so I had him sign my arm right here and went to work at McDonald's with Ozzy Osbourne's signature on my arm.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, you must have had some comments on that,
On the
on the signature on your arm.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I was working at McDonald's. I wasn't at the counter. I was working the greasy ass fryer, but but yeah, I was showing it. Oh, this is Ozzy Osbourne. I think I was 16 or seven, might have been almost 17 at the
Oh,
time.
that is awesome, man.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna have to pause a second. I've got a delivery.
sure,
Sorry. Hang
no
on a
problem.
sec.
Yeah,
So that was Blizzard of Oz. That was Ozzy Osbourne.
yeah.
When and how did you get into thrash?
Uh, well, I started getting into thrash. Well, I went to school with Cliff Burton, high school with Cliff Burton, Mike Yastrzemski. He was in Heathen. He played bass for Heathen, the original bass player, and a few other. Dean and I hung out a lot together, so that got me into like because he was a musician. I forget the name of their band, but they were trying to get some of these club shows, and so I'd help them out and wind up at Ruthie's Inn and just started getting into the seeing Possessed in Ruthie's Inn. I think Jeff was like 17 at the time, maybe because they were a young band when they started, and seeing Exodus and some of the other bands there in the Bay Area, and then just started getting more and more into it, and uh, hanging out with Cliff, and Kill 'Em All comes out, and then Ride the Lightning. So I would, anytime he was in town, I would roadie for him, you know, guitar tech for him, and he would call me, hey, my guitar tech. I think he'd give him the time off, and then I would step in and help Cliff out, and so
Oh,
it
man.
just that just kind of immersed. I was immersed into it,
Yeah.
and so my first real big thrash experience was seeing Slayer at the Keystone Berkeley. It was their first time they played Northern California. So they played the Keystone Berkeley. They still had the makeup under their eyes. And then the Exodus boys and some of the locals were like, yeah, you guys got to get rid of that makeup shit. And so the next Saturday they played Ruthie's Inn and they didn't have it. And I was sitting on top of one of the speakers, one of the big speakers projecting into the crowd. And I could had a clear view of the stage. It was like the perfect spot, perfect show. Yeah. So
Oh,
that's kind
man.
of how I got into it. And punk kind of led me that direction too, really into Fear and GBH and,
Yeah.
exploited and stuff, and that
Dead
that kind of steered
Kennedys,
me in
Dead
that
Kennedys did it
direction.
for me, and
Yeah.
to this day, people say that the band has a crossover edge to it that is
Yeah.
provided by my vocals, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't hear it, but apparently it's in there, and I think it just seeps in, doesn't it? And then it comes out of you.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, especially for me and with GBH, that was one of my big primary bands that I loved, and then I would listen to Angel City, another kind of that post punk kind of punk rock sound. I don't know if you ever heard them before.
No, doesn't ring a
Yeah,
bell.
yeah, you should look them up. It's pretty. It's a mellow punk album, but it's still got that sound. It's really
Yeah,
kind of cool. And then yeah, so that kind of drove me towards the when I started writing. I think that influenced me a lot, and I have this off time kind of thing in my head too, where I'm not perfectly on time, and
yeah,
I think that also helps create the exclusive sound that the band has.
yeah,
So and I think in Let the World Burn was one of these EPs too that we wanted. I just didn't when we got back together. I just didn't want to have Nothing to Gain be the last thing we recorded. So
yeah,
we got Phil and I got putting our heads together and put those 5 songs out. And I think that it's got some that off time influence in some of the vocals, but if you listen to Screaming Always, the bridge there has a break where it goes John, 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 and that's that off time kind of a break, and
yeah,
that just where I was trying to explain it to Phil, and he was like having a hard time like understanding it until I was like going, okay, it's like this, John, 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 and then we fit it in, and it has that crazy sound that breaks up that bridge. And
yeah.
so, I still have that off time like thing in my head. It's like off time clock.
Yeah, funnily enough, and again, I think it comes from punk. I just try and get too many words in.
Yeah.
I'm like always. It's like whenever I work with anybody, they're always like, "Do you want to take some words out?" Nope, I don't.
No.
I want to
Yeah.
try and get all the fucking words in, and if I can't, then we might consider taking one out.
Or
But
extending this verse.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
um,
I'm
but
the
yeah,
same way. Because going back and going being prepared for Pressing the Masses, Pressing the Masses, there's a lot of words in that song. And a
oh
lot of
hell
them are
yeah,
crammed in there. And when we first got back and started doing the song, rehearsing the songs, there was a few spots like in Bodies on Bodies, I had to get that my tongue to work properly with the syllables, and
yeah,
so and then once you get there, it's like, oh yeah, that just comes out naturally now. But it was like a
yes.
struggle to get back to there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is, it's kind of like there's like the first time you did that after God knows how many years, there's a little bit of, and I know this experience where you start singing a song and you go like, well, this is strangely familiar. I seem to like, and you just, and like that thought going through my head was like, hey, I'm singing all the words. I
Yeah.
genuinely thought I'd forgotten these.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it took us a while for our reunion show. I think we practiced for, geez, it might have been 3 or 4 weeks straight, to get
Yeah,
ourselves back on top of that horse, But yeah, once you get there, it's pretty easy ride.
yeah,
But there
yeah,
are a lot of words, man. We were like, man, why the fuck did I put so many words into this? And Phil too with the
yeah.
riffs. It was like, Jesus Christ, why did I do this? I could have done this. It would have been so much easier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
You know?
that's the fearlessness of youth, isn't it? We're full of piss
Yeah,
and vinegar, and it's just like no one's going to tell us what to do. And I look
yeah,
back at some of the advice we were given over the years, and I think we were given really a good advice. We told everybody to fuck off.
yeah. Yep.
You look back at that advice now, which you thought absolutely sucked at the time. And you're like, God, these guys are fucking idiots. And then like all these
Yeah,
years later, you go like, oh, they knew what they were doing. We were the idiots.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, but also, I mean, I don't know about you, but I just, I can't believe that I'm the age I am and I'm basically still doing something that I started when I was a teenager,
yeah.
that
I
people
feel
still give
good
a shit.
too. Yeah. I feel good when we play it. It feels good, and I get a lot of people because I always come out after the show and I just want cool down for about 15 minutes and then come out and say hello to people and take pictures and sign their memorabilia and stuff like that. And um, yeah, it's one of those things where you just it just like it's pe- people tell me all the time, you sound just like you did on the record. And it's just like, well, yeah, because there's no compromise. I don't compromise anything. I don't jump around as much as I used to as a young man, but um, as far as the delivery, there can't be any compromise. Because when I hear bands and coming back and it's like, maybe you shouldn't have done that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not what I
No.
remember. Because it's not what I remembered, right? And that's what they come for, is to see and experience what they knew back in the day. And we get a lot of different generations, it's 16, 17-year olds, teenagers, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It's always the 50 something year olds that go, well, I just came to watch, but man, I just couldn't help myself.
Yeah.
I got into the pit and I'll be paying for it later. And,
Yeah.
and then the young kids, a lot of them, it's not their parents that got them into it. It's, these algorithms that, they listen to Machine
Yeah.
Head and maybe it directs them to violence, because of Rob's connection. And yeah, so I think we pick up a lot of fans through the algorithms that are out
Yeah.
there.
Well, the algorithms are doing the job of what people who used to work behind the counter in a record store did,
Yeah, yeah.
you
And
know?
us, by printing tons of demos and going down to the record vault and trying to get them to put them on their shelves and doing all that. Now the algorithm and the internet all does it for you.
I actually I worked in a record shop and I sneaked our demo into the record shop and on the shelves with all the other cassettes. And the manager was like, "Hey, look, why are you sneaking it in? That's really cool. It's great." And then people started coming in and buying it, and then the local newspaper called up and they were like, "Oh, we're just ringing up for the charts this week. What's number one?" It's like, "Well, are you interested in cassette charts?" And they were like, "No." I was like, "Well, that's a shame because the band who are number one are from this town." And they were like, "Whoa, hang on, what's that?" So I managed to get got some free press just by being the guy who picked
Excellent.
up the phone at the record store and just went like, "Do you want to
Perfect.
do cassette charts at all?" But
Yeah,
like,
let me give you that lineup. Number one, Acid Rain. Number two,
yeah,
Acid Rain. Number
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You get the picture. Yeah, you get the
three.
picture.
Yeah,
It's but the funny thing is, back then as well, like any kind of publicity was
yeah,
just like, I mean, it still fries my brain that you can see Metallica on like terrestrial TV and
yeah.
Slayer are playing chat shows and stuff like that. Because I remember a time where it was just like, we had the pictures on the back of the albums and that was fucking it.
That was it. Yeah, and the cover to judge by. Well,
Oh
this
God,
cover's
yeah.
heavy, so the music must be heavy.
Well, luckily, I heard "Show No Mercy" before I saw the fucking cover because I don't think I would have
Yeah,
bought.
yeah, huh? Yeah, that's me too. The Show No Mercy I heard before I bought it. You know, because when I saw him at the Keystone, I was like, "Fuck, I gotta have this record."
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And for a thrash band, I think you had really cool artwork. I mean, I think both albums are fucking great artwork. And of
Thank you.
course, you had the puke bag 10-inch and all the rest of it. I mean, that was all cool
Yeah,
as fuck.
yeah. Well, Pressing the Masses was one because Eternal Nightmare was like, well, I kind of gave my thoughts to Ed Repka, and he came up with that beautiful cover without really just minimal input. On Oppressing the Masses, though, I did meet the artist at Atlantic Records, and he had at the time he had defected to the U.S. I think he was in Russia, or well, one of the Eastern Bloc countries, but and I was kind of explaining to him Oppressing the Masses, and it should be like a hand gripping bodies, and it should be like a wallpaper. And I'd always loved that pencil art, and so that's what his specialty was, and it was a good match. And then when we saw the pre artwork, some of the stuff he was showing, just
Yeah,
drawing up, and some of the guys like, oh, I don't know, it's a man's naked body and da da da. It's like, yeah, but it's not the body, dude. It's the message, the whole impression that it makes on people. And then when we saw the final rendering, it was like, man, this is fucking so perfect.
yeah, yeah. And that made me laugh because that is a typical criticism of a band member from back in the day when you're in your 20s and you've got this vision that you want to get out there, and they don't see a vision, they just see a picture and go, but
Yeah.
it's a dude's naked butt, and it's like, can
Yeah.
you can you just fucking see past that?
Exactly. Well, then when the final art comes out, it's like, see, I
Yeah,
told you it would be good.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it looks
I think
great.
it might have been Spin Magazine, one back in the day, had it as their number four heavy metal art cover work or cover artwork of all time. And there was like
Wow.
a Led Zeppelin one ahead of us, and maybe a Pink Floyd one, and one other. But yeah.
Well, in the now defunct Terrorizer magazine, our third album, Obnoxious, which that's a tour poster, which is basically, it's a pink cover. It's completely
Uh-huh.
pink. Um, and we were voted the worst metal album art of all time.
A cover or
The
record?
cover, the cover,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, don't worry, not the album. I wouldn't
yeah,
mention it if it was the album.
yeah.
But yeah, worst metal album artwork of all time. We were
Because
number
of the
one.
color.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty hideous, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
It's not nice to look at. Um, so th-
Well, that's an achievement. I mean,
yeah. Well, the thing
yeah,
is, the album was called Obnoxious, so the whole thing
yeah,
is pink, and then we had Obnoxious written in cyan blue, because
yeah.
cyan and pink, if you get the right tone, the perfect tone of pink, shocking pink and cyan, it messes with your eye a bit. There's something
Oh,
about the fact that the two colors really jar. The album's called Obnoxious. We wanted it to look obnoxious. It came out and everyone just went, "You're all queer."
that's too obnoxious.
Yeah, dude, there's reviews from like 2015 where people are saying, let's start with the problem with this album, and that's the artwork. This is not heavy metal artwork. It's terrible. It's like, fucking hell.
I know. If you want
25
dragons
years on,
and
25 years on, people still don't get the fucking point.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's just like, oh, fuck it. Never mind.
yeah.
Never mind.
Sorry, went right over all your heads. Don't
Yeah,
mind.
yeah,
Don't worry about it. You'll still survive.
yeah, yeah. Still going over your head 25
You'll
years
still
later.
be.
Good,
You'll
good
still
to
be
know.
able to eat. You'll still be able to eat your Fruit Loops tomorrow morning.
So I gather you've had the Keep It True Fest already booked, and you've kind of like scattered some dates around it to kind of
Yeah,
make the thing like if we're going to
yeah,
be over there, what's the point in going over for one gig?
yeah. So Enzo with Decibel, we agreed on the Keep True Fest about a year ago, so it was well in advance. And then Enzo put the dates together for us, the UK and Spain and
Yeah,
Portugal, and then Bahrain popped up. So we were like, yeah, we'll take that too. We had a couple other opportunities that kind of fell through, just didn't work out, financially is all, because you
yeah,
have overhead and you can't be irresponsible. Yeah.
yeah. And absolutely, absolutely, and that's the thing that when especially as an older band, um, going on tour is the fun. That is the fun. But you can't overindulge because you can't
Yeah.
recover like you used to.
No.
And and you learn very quickly that 2 nights in a row, yeah, that's like 10 nights in a row to to old
Yeah.
school you.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you gotta try to stay healthy, not get all carried away.
Yeah, yeah. No, I learned that to my cost.
Yeah.
But I mean, are you all right? Do you ever have problems with your voice on the road or anything like that?
No, not my voice.
just
Never had
just
that.
just my band members, not my voice, just my
Yeah, just
band.
just my band members. No, but the one time I had missed a show, unfortunately, it was in Melbourne, and that morning, we had to be up at 4 a.m. for catch our flight, and I had breakfast, and I think it was the mushrooms that screwed me up, and I had food poisoning.
Oh
So by
shit.
about 6 o'clock, I was puking, and it was coming out both ends, and I
Oh
couldn't
wow.
play, obviously, but that was the only time I really had an issue. And then some, it was us and Sacred Reich, and so there was a guy that was total huge Violence fan that was there, and we figured, well, either we don't play and people don't get to hear anything, or this guy who says he could do it, he'll do it. And he jumped up and he sang the songs. You know,
Wow.
he didn't mimic my voice, which is fine, but and then you get criticism for that. And it's like, yeah, but the people were out to have a good time, and if I'm not there and they can't see what their violence and why the reason why they came, and at least we can, the guys that are there, they can still play, and then just happens to be that this cat's there that knows all the lyrics. So it's like,
And
fuck it,
and,
man.
and they've got a war story from now on as well. It's like I saw the
Yeah,
one Violence show without Sean.
yeah, yeah. And
You
then
know?
you get the, oh well, you probably shouldn't have played and blah blah blah. I was getting that from Phil, but it was just like, yeah, but you're not here, Phil, so keep your, I'm sorry. Uh, we had to play. There was either that or a bunch of people got totally disappointed as opposed to partially disappointed.
If you yeah, if you're in the pit and you're thrashing around to calling in the coroner, um, that's better than not being in the pit and not
Yeah,
thrashing around to calling in the coroner.
yeah. And we let and so Sacred Reich, we switched spots so that they could play their full set and the crowd could get that whole experience. And then we figured we'll play last. That'll give this guy a chance to get warmed up and get his head focused. And then, if we have to cut the set short, at least we're not screwing over Sacred Reich, and trying to
Yeah.
and rush them onto stage, or because promoters, they don't want any downtime.
Yeah, but also in situations like that, there are only bad choices. It's about making the least worst choice.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it wasn't like I could do anything about it. I would have loved to have played. I'd love to go back to Melbourne and play that show again. So we're gonna figure out something for that next year, probably.
Yeah,
Get
exactly. You
back
don't
out
travel.
there.
You don't travel all that way, halfway around the world,
Yeah,
to not play.
yeah. And then after this tour, we're gonna be working on a lot of new material. So I want to get a new record out of minimum 8 songs. And I've talked to other musicians outside the band that are interested in contributing to, and there's some pretty influential metal musicians that I've been speaking with. So yeah,
That'd be awesome, man. That I mean, that's the dream. That was going to be my that was going to be my final question, whether the EP was going
Yeah.
to be, the last thing that you did. But I love it. New album, yeah,
Yeah, so the EP was the answer to Nothing to Gain. It was like, okay, well, that can't be the last thing, and now I need to write because without the original members, I have a lot more freedom to write what I envision, and
yeah,
so I think that is an answer to Nothing to Gain or Let the World Burn. Is like, okay, now I have that. Now let's do this because I want something that's mine and, mine only, as being violence,
yeah, yeah,
and people say,
and
and you got all the haters out there. Oh, you should just hang it up and blah, blah, blah. And no original members. And it's just Sean. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? People come out to see it and we still play sold out shows and we
yeah.
get a chance to go out and spread the music to people that haven't seen it live and that they appreciate that. So,
Well,
yeah.
I bet you're having the same experience I am, which is you're going to countries that you never even fucking got to first time round.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
All of South America, because we didn't hardly tour anything, you know.
yeah,
And so all of South America, anywhere in Europe, Southeast Asia, Australia was another place we'd never been. These festivals, that we could have played back in the day that we never did, but that now I'm getting a chance to play them, and
yeah.
people do appreciate it. I mean, we played Vakin, and we were between Testament and Behemoth. So, and
Fuck me.
people were gathering as the set's going on, because I think
Yeah,
we might have played it. I think it was a 45-minute set, and or 50 minutes. I can't remember, and so, people started, more and more people were coming and coming. And then Behemoth went on, because Testament finished. Those people came over. They started watching us because a lot of them never seen us before. And then Behemoth came on, and we lost a few people, but the majority of the crowd stayed until the end because it was a couple. I think we had two songs into Behemoth's set, but Behemoth played a whole hour or whatever. Yeah, that was a great festival too because I had never seen Behemoth live, and they're one of my favorites. And so then I also got to hang out with Nurgle for about a good 30-40 minutes just shooting the shit, and really cool dude. And it was a
I,
great
I,
experience.
this is it. It's not just the traveling, it's the festivals, but it's also like I said right back at the beginning, we're fans.
Yeah,
And you get to play on bills with bands that like you really love. And the best thing, I don't know about you, but the best thing ever for me is meeting someone from a band and going like, wow, just want to say love your stuff. And they turn
yeah,
around and they're like, oh, I'm a total fan of yours as well. And you're like,
oh
what the
yeah,
fuck?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Nurgle's a big Violence fan. I think all the guys are big into Violence because that's when they were starting to come out. Is like when we were starting to tail off. So
Yeah.
their pre-Behemoth days were a lot of influence from the Bay Area thrash metal and the German thrash metal scene. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's strange talking to people who are in bands that I like that not only do I really like, but are incredibly successful, way
yeah,
more successful than
oh
I've ever
yeah,
been. And they're like, "Oh no, you were like absolutely back in the day, total
yeah,
influence." And you just think like, "Wow, that
yeah.
amazes me."
Well, the funny thing is when I was talking to Nurgle, he was like, the thing is that the music is so heavy and so satanistic and all this stuff, and it's still popular. I don't know. It's like so. But I attribute that they do write fucking great songs, man. Their fucking music is it really good, well structured. But yeah, he
Yeah,
was kind of like it's something that's so heavy. How the hell we get so big? you know?
I love that. But I love
Yeah,
that he still has that
yeah,
kind of naivety about it and still has
yeah,
that
yeah,
passion. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Really
Well, look,
mellow dude, man. I'll tell you. And I
look,
got to
Sean.
meet Biff. I got to meet Bifford, and
Oh
uh,
wow, really?
yeah. And then I saw from Skid Row.
Oh, Sebastian?
Sebastian, we were in the same kind of cubicle area, and as he's walking by, I'm all the Swayze Express. So I don't know if you've ever seen Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah.
He turned around immediately. He was like, "Oh, man, no way!" And then he came and saw us. I was like, "Yeah, I'm the singer for Violence," and then he came and watched us for a few songs before he went and started watching Behemoth. So that was kind of a cool experience too.
Man, it is. Well, look, it's good to have you back. Not that you've just come back, but it's great news there's a new album coming out. I'm pissed that I'm going to
Yeah,
miss the Oppressing the Masses stuff, but
yeah,
dude, it's
it'll be
lovely,
fun.
lovely to see you again. Good to
You
talk.
too, Howard.
And next time we're at a fest or you're over here, whatever, we'll catch up again.
Oh, for sure.
All right,
Yep,
man.
can't wait.
You take care, dude.
You too, Howard. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Bye bye.